Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about Basic Instinct 2 Risk Addiction on Kill by Kill After Dark. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the Gherkin in good old London town. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters, that is, until we reach February, and that's where we talk about erotic thrillers in the hopes that a soccer star's untimely end fingering a chick in a car is just the beginning of the jokes we can make at his expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to constantly plant new cigarette lighters at various crime scenes to frame me. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I just can't stop smoking. I'm smoking and looking defiantly at you.
In the first movie, they tell her once she can't smoke in a police station. And this movie, I think, spends at least half an hour of its nearly 2-hour runtime telling Catherine Trammell, you can't smoke in here.
Just chastising her left and right.
Just putting her in increasingly more ludicrous outfits. And then, I don't know who she pissed off in the hair department, but they have given her some rough looks.
Yeah, I sent you a picture of a screenshot of one. I said, whoever did this has been brought up on charges.
That is the true killer in this movie, is the hair department of Basic Instinct 2. But we will get to it.
She's got those choppy Gale Weathers bangs in one scene.
Yes, it's very Scream 3-esque. We will get to it. I don't want to scare you, Gina. We're not alone. We have a special guest. You know her as a writer, a podcaster, a digital strategist, and social media badass. And of course, she is a returning champion here to Kill by Kill. The one, the only Wynter Mitchell. How are you doing today, Wynter?
I missed you guys so much. Seriously.
I missed you too.
I really did. Like, this is refreshing.
I don't like to bother people too much. You're a busy lady.
By the way, I need you to do that because the thing is that...
Okay. All right.
That was
asked
easy.
and answered.
I need it because the thing is that, we see each other, and I'm going to call Blue Sky the street. We see each other in the street constantly. We're neighbors. Yeah. So it's like, I'm constantly reminded of how much I love the both of you. But then I'm also like, I'm not going to just norm my way into your show. I'm not just going to be like, I should be on this week, don't you think? Like, I'm going to wait till you ask, and then I will show up.
And see, the polite Mormon boy in me, what really believes deep down, I cannot bother this professional individual more than I already have.
No.
I can't ask you to do more of this. And invariably, because you are so delightful and funny,
thank you,
we tend to ask you on for more ridiculous things.
I appreciate.
We're not bothering you with serious materials.
You never are. And by the way, that's just become my, what's the movie? Flight, the John Goodman character? That's me. I show up. and you're really gonna put this guy in front of Congress or whoever? I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can.
And then we slide a digital disc of Basic Instinct 2, and then we roll it.
And then I go 45 minutes in. All right. I got it.
So here's the deal, right? There are some movies that we need to talk through the plot of, because you need to understand it is some elements of its context, or it's just so weird it has to be discussed. Sure. But then our audience would be just as bored as we were when we watched this movie, which is D-U-M-B.
Yeah.
Dumb. It is truly the stupidest version of a Basic Instinct movie. It so closely follows the plot beats of the first one without any of the highfalutin style that Verhoeven brings to the proceedings. It's just one of those things where he knows the secret weapon of that first movie is, yes, this script is ridiculously stupid, but if I give it enough style and enough verve, it will highlight how stupid that is, and the audience will laugh and have a fun time. That is not the case here. This movie believes that every moment is deathly fucking serious.
Yep.
And so if it is in fact camp, it is that second version of camp, the unintentional humor via deathly seriousness.
Well, you know what I compared it to, Patrick? Remember, I think I said this in the group chat, but I compared it to Red Dragon.
Oh.
No, that's right.
In
Gina.
which you've got Anthony Hopkins sort of winking at the audience, like, "Hey, you know me, I'm Hannibal Lecter. I'm gonna make weird mouth noises. Talk about having you for dinner." And I think that's what she's doing here. You know, with the slow crossing the legs. Hey, remember this? And the constant references to you can't smoke in here.
Right.
It's like when the later seasons of Happy Days when Fonzie would walk in and stop for like 30 seconds so the audience could applaud.
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. It's it's like you know her, you love her. Here's Catherine Tremell.
But what's interesting is like you don't go to the sequel. You don't take Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street and then immediately do Freddy's Dead Freddy in the second movie.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that wouldn't there's no way that franchise would have lasted eight or however many entries if you went from that Freddy to that Freddy. You need to build on the Freddy. You need to unlayer the Freddy. You can't just go straight to heckle ha ha Freddy. You got to kind of get there, and that's what they did to Catherine. It goes from being like this. Look, she was iconic. I mean, that made Sharon Stone like a bona fide star, and this just undid the entire concept of that.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. There's just no consistency to it. And I don't know that there ever should be a sequel to Basic Instinct.
No.
But if you are going to do it, and I think there was this weird game of legal chicken with this movie where they had set up a sequel around 1999 going into 2000. And then they couldn't find a script they like. Their deal fell through. MGM went in, tits up, and they just don't know exactly how to handle this. And she takes the producers to court. She walks out. She sues them for $100 million. She walks out with 14, and they can't pay that either. And the only way out of this dire situation is they're forced to make this movie. And then they make the worst version of it they possibly can. They got walked off a plank into Basic Instinct 2.
Yeah. This feels like something that was made at some point, honestly.
It literally is like Legal Jeopardy, the movie. And there's no good version of this, but this might be one of the worst versions of this. We were talking briefly before you got on, Wynter, of whether or not this was like the worst After Dark erotic thriller we had ever watched. Because we watched some fucking howlers the last 4+ years that we've been doing this. And they are ungood, but it's almost staggering how incompetent yet boring this is.
This is a lethal combination of boring, stupid, and incomprehensible. Like if you can do one, and I forgive you. You can't do all three.
And because there's an element of you have to outshock a movie whose one of the main components of it's being so splashed upon the screen and being such a big deal was its provocation. And in this movie, they're like, maybe not. She definitely doesn't like ladies anymore. That's out. She's just for the fellas.
They flirt with it a little bit. Like the way David Thewlis, what in the fuck is he doing in this?
No idea.
He says like, oh, like she's lady friends with your ex-wife. And it's like, lady friends?
Lady friends?
Like,
Are we in...
But then he's real quick to clarify that he doesn't mean it like that.
Then why refer to it as lady friends?
Like, when I hear the phrase lady friend, I mean, I think, oh, you mean they're lovers. Okay. And
okay.
Like, But like it's like they're kind of like, no, we're not going.
But everybody in this movie literally could be in Paddington, and somehow ends up in this movie. It's true.
There are definitely people calling in favors for Charlotte Rampling. God.
She should sue. She is criminally underused, and anything that her role has is undone when she's just like, yeah, I believe this serial liar who up until this very moment, I'm saying, you shouldn't see her anymore. She's trying to manipulate you. This is a bad idea. And then she has one session with her and she's like, I think she's right as rain. I think you're a crazy serial killer.
I think we have to pull your license immediately.
Just submit to the loony hatch for a little while. We'll take away your license and everything should be kosher. I don't know why he's still on the fucking streets, because every other door he walks into is a dead body. And David Thewlis just strokes the wisp of his mustache and decides, no, I'm putting you out on the fucking street. Why? At one point, he starts this movie going like, my apologies, I'm going to put that bitch in jail. And you're like, it's a little fucking, you're hitting the accelerator a little hard there, guy. And then about 3/4 of the way through the movie, he's like, I don't know, that Catherine Trammell, she's got some good ideas. He goes on the crunchy to alt-right pipeline on Catherine Trammell so fucking hard.
It's the bangs. It's the bangs, Gina. The bangs.
She's like a fucking cult leader in this. The way she talks to people for like 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, well, Catherine was right about you. Drink every time someone says the phrase, Catherine was right about you.
Yes. If you combine that with doing a bump every time Catherine says, come, you will be so high and drunk, you will be able to phase through the multiverse.
Like literally every character in this movie at some point talks to her and completely gives in and buys everything she says. And everybody's like, she's so brilliant and she's a mastermind. And all she's fucking doing is smirking at people. That is all she does. Is she smirks and she talks about how much she's into danger.
But the thing is that I happen to love Basic Instinct. And I think every single person, even though she's clearly the star, I think every single character in that movie has a purpose and a reason. I think Jean Triplehorn, has a purpose. I think obviously Michael Douglas has a purpose. I think his partner has a purpose. Everybody kind of serves a purpose there. This is sort of like, we just need to skim off the top of London's finest, gather them into these roles, and they didn't have like a purpose.
No.
Right?
No.
Then I honestly feel like Sharon did that on purpose. How many times can I say purpose? I think Sharon did that with intention.
I don't know if that was her or just bad screenwriting, because you've got these characters who are set up like they should have something to do with the plot. Like this mentor with this wig cloth on his head that like it's a big deal apparently that he's going to do a letter of recommendation for Morrissey's character, and then he's gone. You've got this female colleague that he starts an affair with. They have sex in one scene. She's gone after that. You've got Hugh Dancy's character who shows up for one scene. He's dead. Next scene. You've got the ex-wife. Seems like she might have a lot to do with the plot. Not really, as it turns out. And then you've got this former patient who is talked about so much, like he might as well show up at some point, because everything that happens in this movie rests upon supposedly David Morrissey's character knew that this guy was going to go and kill his girlfriend. And everybody has now made it's their life's work to prove this and either nail him for it or nail the cop for it for reasons I'm not quite sure I understand.
Well, I also think that there was, I'm sure, a world where they thought that they could make her like the James Bond of narcissistic sex obsessed, and just every movie becomes like an R.L. Stein theme where we're supposed to pretend like she didn't do it, but she did it anyway. And I just don't know this, thus, like, why was there a sequel if we've always, the end of Basic Instinct sort of implied that she was going to kill again and definitely was probably killed Nick. I just think that could have just been it. So even when they announced they were going to make this, I don't think people were excited for it. I think the only person who was excited for it was Sharon.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the career was kind of drying up a little bit, and I think she. Now, granted, it's great that she was in her 40s by this point, and playing this character who was still overtly sexual, and that was fine. But like this, there's just no justice done to this very interesting character. And just, this is not this was just not anybody's best time at all for anything.
If you look at the thing, we debated this in the previous week, whether or not she's responsible for all the murders that she supposedly is responsible for. Because I just don't think, honestly, who comes to fucking Basic Instinct for realism? That being said, like, there are certain elements here that are just so fucking fantastical that it just doesn't make a ton of sense that she's still on the street.
Yeah, I mean, she's just got piles of bodies around her at this point.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
Very quickly, want to let you know, like, what a clusterfuck led into this movie. So that everyone is aware in the audience, Verhoeven walks away from this movie because he can sense it stinks.
Yep.
He's like, I'm not going to get trapped into this. You can put me as an EP or whatever. I don't really want to participate in this. So the producers have that first version of Basic Instinct 2, and they almost get it done. They approach Jan de Bont before he went to director's jail, John McTiernan before he went to federal fucking prison, Lee Tamahori, and David Cronenberg, and they all just turn it down. And then eventually Stone takes them to court, comes away with a $14 million verdict. They can't pay it because the only way they can make money is to make a Basic Instinct 2. And so they're like, all right, we'll just roll all these expenses into the production cost of Basic Instinct. And this is going to be such a huge sequel. We're bound to make money at it. Here is a list of actors they considered for the lead role. Buckle the fuck up.
I know one of them, but I was like, if they got him, it would have made it almost worthwhile.
There's a couple versions in here that would have worked. Jude Law, Ewan McGregor, Gabriel Byrne, Javier Bardem, Benicio del Toro. Like, you're going to rein him in. Here's another really outside curveball. Viggo Mortensen.
That's the one. I'd be like, what?
He could work.
I was gonna say it would have made it worthwhile.
But he's going to follow up the fucking Lord of the Rings with this piece of shit. This is following literally the last movie ended last year. And he's going to come off the set of that onto Basic Instinct 2?
No.
Give me a fucking break. Aaron Eckhart makes sense in the terms of, like, he'd accept that. Robert Downey Jr. makes sense in that if they could insure him in a foreign country, he probably would have done it.
Has Robert Downey Jr. ever even done like a graphic sex scene?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I don't even know if I want to see that at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. I don't want to see it.
And he's probably 2 inches shorter than Stone.
It would have been a weird mix.
They start to go into a hotter, older dude area where they go Kurt Russell, Bruce Greenwood, Pierce Brosnan, who I guess Pierce Brosnan is like the closest, I think, to what they were aiming for.
No. I told you what they were aiming for.
Who were they aiming for?
They were aiming for Liam Neeson.
Well, true.
He's trying for Liam Neeson.
True.
Yes. It helps that David Morrissey, the actor who takes the role, if you close your eyes, you hear Liam Neeson.
Right.
And then you open them and you're like, I don't believe his dick is big enough to be Liam Neeson. A man we canonically know has a large Johnson.
Patrick.
Yes.
Patrick.
We know this. This is a thing that is known about him. He is swinging hog.
Yeah, no, we know this.
If you squint, if you open your eyes and then squint a little bit, it could probably be Liam from afar, and you make him go like walk a mile and then like just turn 3/4 turn, squint. That's Liam Neeson. Fine.
The one that they actually were signing to a deal, though, and ultimately Sharon Stone rejects him, is Benjamin Bratt.
So rude.
Which obviously super attractive guy, but I also does not carry across the, well, here's a dipshit who's dumb enough to walk into this series of crimes.
I don't buy him as someone that is absolutely gobsmacked because a woman thinks about sex in the same way a man does.
Right, yeah. At a certain point, the ideas of this start to get very old hat, and they can't find a way to get to new ideas of what Catherine is. Because in the original, she has a solid mission. You take a rogue cop who the system refuses to deal with, and you get that asshole off the streets by deciding a murder plot around him involving a shitty rock star, 2 obsessed exes, one guy who dresses like a cowboy for no fucking reason. It just works because it does. And it plays like a high-key parody of Hitchcock because you've got San Francisco, you have the whole vertigo-ness of it all. But every time the old Basic Instinct theme kicks up in this, it's that thing you always mention, Gina. Don't remind me of a better movie during your shitty movie.
Gina. It's true.
She's a fucking assassin. It makes sense.
The thing is that I think this was on top of being a bad script, on top of not having Verhoeven at the helm, I think we were Sharon. I'm not discounting her contributions to cinema overall. This is a desperate era. Even if you think about the way this film was supposed to come together, it was clearly a casualty of, 9/11, puritanical need to just, focus on patriotism. Everybody is morose. This is not the right time for an erotic thriller. Nobody's jerking off. Like, we don't need this. And then I think she was a sacrificial lamb of trying to dip a toe out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're still talking about, like, what was 2006? That was still sort of like that frat guy, old school road trip shit. I don't know a world where this would have fit in the right world. And we can always go back and say that. We can always blame it on a world event. We can talk about this entire era. The worst of the worst could be between the Trump era, but we don't know until we look back. And I just think that if there had been more care applied to this, and definitely, I think if it didn't wait so long to come out, I mean, those are 2 completely different eras, like.
Well, this was from a period where had a lot of like really, you had a lot of sequels. Absolutely, no one was asking for.
Yeah,
you had stuff like Blues Brothers 2000. You had Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps.
Yeah,
the one sequel that Michael Douglas did agree to do.
Right. The one he's perfectly fine with is that and Ant-Man 3. And it doesn't necessarily work unless you've got a real idea for what Catherine Trammell can do. I don't think this is the way to do it. It just, for as much as it replicates very distinct beats from the first one, it eradicates her queerness. It swaps out a gold medal asshole in Michael Douglas for Dr. Woodblock from David Morrissey. Like, he reduces the plot to, and again, forgive me for my language here. Pussy so good, I gotta murder. That's what this comes down to.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that I was talking about. Is like, at least in Michael Douglas's character, he is established from the beginning as having, not just a potential for violence. He is a violent, volatile person.
Yes.
That she brings out the worst aspects of him. Whereas this guy is just some schlub who's assigned by a judge to decide if she is too crazy to stand trial. And like, just her talking about like her sex life and how much she likes sex and how much she has to be in control. This like melts his brain. He's like, it's like 2 sessions before he's in a rage over thoughts of her.
Yeah.
And like taking it out on his new girlfriend, and like, having that HBO prestige drama from behind sex because which is like that's shorthand for this guy's into some dark fucking shit, man.
Yeah, he can't even face her. That's
like he is furious at her for, I guess giving him an erection. I don't know.
Do you think they took the avatar of like of Triple Horn's character and just like embiggened that? Because this very much gives off sort of like what a male version of her would have been. Maybe.
I mean, in comparison, like Dr. Woodblock is not a grave danger to the ecosystem. And like, as Gina just said, unless he's actually the serial killer that Catherine makes him out to be, okay, fine. And frankly, I think it would be like this shitty movie more. I think it would be less of a shitty movie. Let's put it that way. I think this would be less of a shitty movie if he was secretly a serial killer that you could conclusively say was murdering this person and that. And Catherine takes him down because she's a better murderer. That's fine. I'm all here for that. But if he's just this innocent schlub, then he's just too uninteresting to do real damage. So why are we fucking going through this? And did she plan to drive through a bare-ass, empty London into the fucking river getting fingered by a guy with too big of an earring? I'm sorry. Too big. I don't care how good you are at soccer. You have to consider size with your jewelry to the rest of your face. You're not on Golden Girls.
I want to know how she made it to London, having been a cop killer.
Well, I mean, she wraps that shit up in the first movie in sort of an unbelievably tight and tidy bow that even here she's like, oh, I walked away from that fucking thing. Grand jury did not believe shit. And then in the end, she goes about like, and I killed this person because I didn't like them. And then I'm like, wait a second. I can understand you killing that rock star because A, his shitty music. But you're telling a room full of dudes that you love fucking on cocaine is the one guy whose dick works on cocaine?
Yeah.
And you gotta murder him?
Yeah. And we are literally, that is the film, which suspension of disbelief, which is what I learned from that movie. That movie does a lot of it. Lot of it.
I think this movie goes one step further because Gina brought this question up to me before we got on air. Does Catherine have actual fucking superpowers in this movie? Because as she mentioned earlier, every character immediately and unquestioningly accepts everything that just falls out of her fucking mouth hole, regardless of their personal motivations or hers. The world bends to her goddamn will like she's Magneto, but with sex.
I truly think that is the Freddy Kruegerification of Catherine Trammell. Like that we are to believe. We have now bought into the iconography. By 2006, think about it. Sharon Stone has been parodied. This character has been parodied in Fatal Instinct. She actually shows up in Last Action Hero. I mean, she's a comic book character. She's a superhero. We are to believe whatever she wants us to believe.
All she has to do is like smirk and say something like, "You ever have sex while base jumping?" and everybody's just like, wiping at their brow and unbuttoning the first couple buttons of their shirt.
Yes.
Do you ever do it while winning the gold in the X Games? Like, she's doing the do, but it's fucking.
Yes.
The do is fucking.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Men, women, she just has this power. I mean, nobody appeals to everybody.
Right.
You've got like a lot of actors that a lot of people think are attractive, but not everybody thinks they're attractive. But she's just got like a grip on every single person she meets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's because of that. I mean, I was 14 when that movie came out, when Basic Instinct. No, 12. It was the talk of middle school. It was just the talk of middle school. Like, it was the Crying Game was the talk of middle school. And then I grew up in San Francisco, so that it would be the talk of San Francisco kids.
Sure.
Hippie kids.
Yeah.
But it's like, I remember like clearly just the power that it had over everyone. It was like the movie of the year without being qualifying for Best Picture. You know what I mean?
I think it was fun and stupid and a little bit serious, and it was something you could talk about with other people and have an opinion about that was worthy of conversation. And this just falls so far short of that.
Yes.
I mean, just not for nothing, but the director here, Michael Canton Jones, who had done a lot of British indie drama fare, he took this gig basically, in his words, because he was dead broke.
Wow.
That is the reason why he is behind the lens here. And I don't think it really manages to rise to any sort of occasion. It really is the difference of a director with verve who knows exactly the kind of movie he wants to make.
Right.
And someone else who's told, I don't know, make a Basic Instinct?
I mean, an erotic thriller is something that you cannot be indifferent about.
Right.
Yeah. And I think this movie tries to start with that sort of boundary pushing in some way that we alluded to with the fucking, doing the do style of sex, where she's racing through London in a sports car and getting fingered, and this guy's getting like a so-so hand job. He's not getting the most out of it, which is fine.
But also apparently like his lungs are paralyzed.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't look like his lungs were paralyzed.
No, at least other parts of him are rising to the occasion to a certain degree.
Like, he was definitely breathing.
Yes.
Like, he did not look like, I can't breathe.
But then when at one point, he turns to her and says, I can't move. And her reply is, you don't have to. You're in a car. Brilliant. Cut. Write the check. Throw that piece of paper into the air. Float down into your production logo. Put the cocaine with the hookers. You've made your... I'm an okay driver, and I do drive stick, but I don't think I can get fingered and drive stick on the other side of the street.
No, that's not a good idea.
That shit is superhuman. Okay, my brain does not work that equation. And it doesn't really for Catherine, because by the time she's finally getting off after 2 solid minutes of this, she splashes down in the river. And the next thing you know, she has a different fabulous outfit on, and she's razzing some straight about how she likes to have sex in fast cars.
This was such a bad decision on everyone's part, because also they couldn't even figure out a way to top the opening scene of the original, which is in retrospect is hot. It's sexy. It's different. But, they could have gone a different direction and still made it hot and sexy and different. This is just real boring.
It is.
I think they ran out of ideas. I think I think Esterhaus is out of ideas by the time he hits Jade, which is just the same beats of Basic Instinct, but shock of all shockers, anal sex happens in San Francisco and men lose their minds.
Yeah, they're basically the same movie where men are absolutely shocked that women would willingly either engage in casual sex or have anal sex.
Yeah. San Francisco felt like a better location for that type of acceptance of risk. London, I feel like,
there's not enough monocles dropping for my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I realize Dr. Woodblock, does the equivalent of dropping his monocle before he gets real mad for some reason.
Yeah, boner makes him angry.
Yeah, and before he starts getting into fights with strangers and like punching walls and shit because he's so horny. It's like
Jesus.
And that's after he's had sex with her. He continues to get madder and madder the more sex he has.
Yes.
It's like that. You should have worked that out of your system by now.
I don't think people need to watch the entirety of this movie.
Oh God,
it is
no.
Free on the internet.
No.
You can watch it. You can watch it on Tubi and everything. I would ask people, if you wanted an example of the differences between the two films, they are encapsulated in the law enforcement, confrontation scenes. They're in the sweat box. In the first movie, it's played for high camp. Everyone's sweating. There's a real weird energy. She's flashing dudes. It's very ripe with drama. And you get to this, and you're like, I don't know. I've seen Law and Orders with more gripping sexual tension.
Oh my God. Shit. And you've got, this movie is an hour and 55 minutes long. You have 3 sex scenes. Yeah. Just sort of indifferently tossed about.
They just sort of happen.
One of them is interrupted by a phone call.
By a phone call. It couldn't have been that fucking good if the phone rings.
Exactly.
And you're like, be right back.
Hold on a minute.
So Dr. Woodblock shows up. She's like, I don't need my lawyer. I got you fucking pegged. But that would have been better. If he was pegged, that would have been so much better than anything that happened in the fucking movie.
Something.
And I thought I was going to get something because I had such a small recollection of this film that when a pre-Hannibal Hugh Dancy shows up for one scene, the sigh of relief that came out of me woke the dog.
Yeah, and then he's in it for 15 seconds.
He barely fucking shows up. The next time you see him, he is dead.
He is a corpse.
The next sequence that had any sort of verve to it, and you've mentioned it before, but I think it bears repeating, is when this guy, Dr. Gerst, arrives, and he's got 17 fucking pounds of hair on his head.
He's just got this, just this wig plopped on his head.
I would say he's got 6 different wigs he's been fitted for and has worn all of them to set on top of one another.
It's like a layer cake of wigs.
He has a furry football helmet on his head, and we're just supposed to take him seriously.
I don't even know who this character is. I don't know what his relevance to the plot is.
It doesn't matter. He's Hungarian Phil Spector, and the camera loves him. Is he central to the plot? No. Is there a reason why Charlotte Rampling is in this movie? No. Shit just happens in this film.
More people that, Catherine just powerfully manipulates.
And really, it's an excuse for the sound guy to capture high heel noise as they walk across cement. I'm telling you, if the sound guy was paid per clump, he's a fucking billionaire. Is that relevant to this movie? I don't know. I was so fucking bored. It's all I could think about was the sound design of high heels. Because there's nothing left to talk about.
I wonder if Sharon, did she, on top of the 14 that she was owed, did they just give her that?
I don't honestly know. I mean, because they...
I want to think she got something out of this.
Basically signed legal documents we'll never quite know, but we do know that the budget of this rolled all the legal expenses into it, and the budget was $70 million. And grand total, grand opening, grand closing, $6 million in the U.S.
Yikes.
38 worldwide.
Wow.
So no one made money on this fucking deal. I
Wow.
hope Sharon bought a hell of a fucking house or managed to pay for her husband's toe that got bit off by a Gila monster.
So insane. I remember that. That was incredible.
That's fantastic. It's a great goddamn story.
I mean,
It's so much more interesting than this 2-hour fucking movie I chose to watch and then forced the both of you to watch as well.
I'm trying to see if Geely made more. I just always want to double check. It's like,
Is this a
no,
Geely?
it's a Scaramucci of things. That's how you measure things. Is
Yeah,
this,
I mean, I every time I play
Geely
box
made
office-
more, Gina.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every time I play box office game, I'm always reminded of what a dire time period the O's were for movies in general.
Dire.
Like after the Lord of the Rings movies, like that's it. It was rough.
I think you have to really get into the high 8, 9 before you even start to repair some of the damage.
Yeah, like 4
That
to
was caused.
6 was just like
2004 to 2006. You know,
Yeah.
I'm ready. You know how every generation just obsesses over the era that came before them and sort of like the excesses of it. I really find Y2K to be like, I want to hold that one close because I find this is where we're going to start seeing the cracks through where we stand today. Is it starts around this time. It starts around like this pre 9/11 because the whiplash of 2000 into 2002 is like nothing I still to this day don't think we've ever been able to replicate, inclusive of all the craziness that's happening, the chaos happening right now. I truly think that going from like we made it through the year 2000, we thought we were going to be blown up or whatever. Everybody's computer was going to blow up or whatever. And then we're just kind of cruising along and then bam, 9/11. And then you have to continue after that. I just don't think that the industry ever really knew what to do at that point.
Here's another element that just feels so 2006. When Hugh Dancy is shown again, it is the interrupted sex.
Mhm.
Dr. Woodblock shows up at what appears to be the same fucking apartment that rat lived in Harry Potter. And he is dead with a giant 3-holed emo belt around his neck. And I would love to have seen Catherine Trammell showing up to buy this at Hot Topic because it's the only place it could possibly be found.
I mean, I think it was supposed to be his belt, like Hugh Dancy's character, because he looks like a little goth rocker lad when we see it, even though he's supposed to be like a tabloid reporter.
Yes, he's the rock and roll tabloid reporter, I guess. The next hour you spend with Dr. Woodblock getting super hot and bothered that he's not sleeping with Catherine up until the point he does, and then he just gets crazier.
He's still mad.
He's so mad. He follows her at one point, speaking of Harry Potter, that she goes into the red light version of Diagon Alley and fucks a rando for reasons, and nothing comes of this, with the exception of he eventually gets killed with another Hot Topic belt.
Like she knows he's following her, right? Because
Yes, she looks right at him as if to say, let's go up and be part of this orgy right near the skylight because I know this doofus is following me into this rando fucking building.
It's almost like it's not, it is not real, but it's almost so like they wrote this on the fly. Like, were they writing this as the movie was being made? I can totally see that because it's nonsensical.
Yeah, the so-called twists in it, and this like coda at the end where she visits him at the psychiatric hospital, and he's just like kind of staring off into space in a wheelchair because that's how crazy he's gotten. He can't even walk anymore. And it is so incomprehensible at that point that it's like the multiple endings of Clue, but shitty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, well, here, but it could have happened this way. And
It could have happened that way.
And shows Catherine doing it. Or wait, it could have happened this way, and shows the cop doing it. But maybe it happened this way, and shows Dr. Woodblock doing it. And none of them make any goddamn sense.
The craziest thing about this, because when Gina and I were texting about it, she's like, how could this possibly have happened? I'm like, Catherine gives Dr. Woodblock a copy of this fucking book that he's a character in, and he reads it on the biggest laptop you've ever seen in your life, in which he clicks that finger pad so much. It is aggressive, the amount of finger pad clicking he's doing. And then he's convinced that Detective Asshole is faking all this evidence and that Hugh Dante was writing an article about the crooked cop, and his name is is Detective A-hole. Why can't you just say that? Why can't anyone just say what they're fucking doing? Because if they do, this movie would stop. And I'm sure that's honestly the same for almost any movie we cover on the show. But this is egregious. This is just too long and too stupid and not sexy at all.
Like at the end, and then she's like explaining to him that like he helped her write the book. You already wrote the book.
You already wrote the book. You gave him a fucking copy. And she's like, I changed the ending. The ending? It's 350 fucking pages he read in one night on a laptop on a CD fucking ROM.
And like none of the like nobody's motives make any sense. Like everything seems to come back to this patient they keep talking about, of Dr. Woodblock's, who ended up killing his girlfriend, which I feel like for a psychiatrist, that's probably not an uncommon thing.
Right. You're dealing with unhinged individuals, whether or not, like, I just don't feel like it's that big of a thing. Like, he regrets not saying anything is not the same as I go around San Francisco high on cocaine and shooting randos. That guy has to get off the street.
Well, they were going to pin this on you. Pin what on him?
Pin what on you? You had a patient who, like, that happened.
Did he give him the brick to kill his girlfriend? It's like, actually psychiatrists do have, doctor-patient privilege.
Yes.
And I am sure that this is something that happens sometimes. You know what else happens to psychiatrists sometimes, I bet? Having female patients come in and talk about their sex lives in a way that makes it seem like they're being, reckless and impulsive. Are y'all familiar with a diagnosis called borderline personality disorder?
Oh, yeah.
Impulsive sexual behavior is a cornerstone of borderline personality disorder. Also, bipolar disorder. So I really refuse to believe this is the first time he has ever confronted a female patient talking about impulsive sexual behavior. Like, he's just like, what? And like, he becomes instantly obsessed with it.
To the point where he's like, I gotta have sex with her, I gotta have sex with her, I gotta have sex with her. And then he does.
I have to see what it's like to have sex with this woman who just, is promiscuous and dangerous because, this must mean the sex must be crazy. It's like, sure, I guess.
I guess. I mean, if your version of crazy sex is that she whips a belt around his neck like she's goddamn Indiana Jones, complete with a fucking whip sound.
And you know what? Honestly, he does not look like he's enjoying it.
No.
So why he's even more into, I have to have you.
I have to have you. I have to find my wife, who I punched a guy to get to. And then I find her neck slashed in the sleaziest high-end bathroom I've ever seen in my life. It's just got ass worship art on the fucking wall. No one hears this. And then he finds his ex-wife with her throat slashed and says, get the paramedics, call the fucking cops. And they're like, did you do it? No one does it and then yells at randos, call the cops in an ambulance. I'm trying to save this lady's life. And then he finally shows up at her apartment after all this rigmarole. And then we get the Catherine Trammell hot tub talk show. Hot tub! Murder me in a hot tub! It is so infuriating for them to shit on any of the good parts of the first movie to justify the horrible parts of this movie. It's just like 5 full minutes of relitigating whether she was the killer in the first movie or not. She admits it, then she denies it, and then she gets angry at all of us for watching this movie, and I hate it so much.
I'm not a huge fan of the original, but the sex scenes are decent.
And it's fun to look at. It's propulsive. It doesn't feel like it's length. It's ludicrous, but in a way that it understands it's ludicrous.
There's some eroticism to it.
Yeah.
I think of the Catherine and Roxy grinding against each other in the club. That's got some eroticism to it. But here it's just like these people don't even like each other.
To quote Roger Ebert, the Catherine Trammell role cannot be played well, but Sharon Stone can play it badly, better than any other actress alive. And that's true.
That's a great review. Great review.
It's really horny, but it is very dialed in to just the kind of wrong this is. For him, it's compelling. Whereas I don't get compelling out of this. It just becomes
it's not compelling. It's useless. It has no purpose. I don't think that it was necessary. It was deeply unnecessary. I think that, I feel bad sometimes when I think about Sharon's career because, listen, there's a lot of potential that hasn't been achieved. And you see all of these women that are having this renaissance, but they also made Demi made a lot of content, a lot of schlocky content, but also good content and lasting stuff. I think Sharon has, 2-3 good iconic roles. And this was supposed to be her thing. Where every other man that she's ever been, opposite, they have their thing, right? And this was going to be her thing. And she just simply wasn't given the opportunity. And I think the desperation to get this on the screen clouded everything.
We are adults. We can hold two thoughts in our head. A, misogyny is absolutely real. Sharon Stone was the kind of movie star no one really knew what to do with throughout the 90s and up until this point. And they kind of keep throwing her in this variation of the same role, but without her really being in charge. And I think what's interesting is in Casino, she's this kind of person who can be in charge in a small way, but her addictions are so much larger than her gravitas. And it just allows her to do these wild ass things, and people kind of go along with it or try to excuse it or try to brush it away, and it can bring down an empire or whatnot. And it's compelling, but there are not enough of those roles for her. And then when she gets to a role that's 1000% hers, she's undone, not necessarily because she's bad in this movie. Everyone's kind of bad in this movie. It's because the movie is inherently bad. And so she is trying her best to rise above it. And there are moments when she does, but it's really built around this other fucking guy who's a complete load.
Yeah, Dr. Woodblock is the main character here.
Yes.
Whereas in Basic Instinct, it was definitely a Nick and Catherine.
It's a two-hander. People, you don't realize, I think, until you rewatch it, how she is this oversized presence even when she's not on screen. And in here, it tries to do that. But because you have an entire movie's awareness of who she is as a person, every time she acts in contrary nature to that previous film, it just bumps. It feels weird. Wynter, as you said, it's like going from Nightmare on Elm Street 84 to Freddy's Dead 92 with nothing in between.
Just think about it. Gina, think about it. Think about it, Gina.
I am totally thinking about it. You're 100% correct. I don't find it interesting to see this supposedly normal average guy go from zero to murder because, he can't stop thinking about her.
Yes. Yeah. Come on. That's not even good in a porn. That's like a really bad porn.
I guess maybe if they had a relationship.
Right.
And she ended it, maybe. But it's the mere thought of it that just absolutely drives him into a psychotic rage. And it's come on, man. Come on.
Everyone around Catherine keeps talking about how brilliant she is. She's so brilliant. She's so smart. She's so this. She's so that. And then Catherine talks about Dr. Woodblock and that you're so controlling. You want to be in control. It's all about control with you. And we never see that from either of them. This is just words that people say.
Everything is told and not shown. And that right there is that's just bad screenwriting right there.
Just shocking.
Right.
And that's what I think the problem is. I think she's trying. I think she might be the only actor in this that's trying. But like, you can only do so much with this absolute dud of a screenplay. Which I think you were right, Wynter. I think they weren't finished with it.
No.
When they were making it. That's why I think it literally has 3 different possible endings.
Yeah. So which one is right? Is Catherine Trammell behind this? Like, it's kind of proposed that she is in the first one. Or the more interesting idea is the fact that she can sense that he is an actual killer and that she is going to expose him and goes through all these lengths to make him so out of control that he then does something as public as shooting a crooked cop in his cohort's apartment. And he's so broken by this. The second to last scene he's in, he's just screaming on the floor.
Yeah, and then the next scene, like, he's catatonic.
Right. He's broken. And she goes through and says, I changed the end of the novel. And did you do it? Did the cop do it? I'll tell you what, they'll never find out I did it. Wink, wink, snidely whiplash.
And he's just sort of smiling like, okay.
This died a deserved death.
Yes.
And I don't know how you can come back to Basic Instinct after so many years of other people attempting to make it and also fail, that you think, I know how to do this. We definitely don't need Paul Verhoeven. We can just muscle our way into this.
The reason why there aren't many good erotic thrillers is because you've got to address them, come with a little bit of a sense of humor, and understand that these are sex scene delivery devices. Nobody is watching. I mean, I would say the only erotic thriller anybody would watch for plot would be Fatal Attraction. Anything else is just like, I'm just spinning my wheels until we get some nudity. Yeah. But people treat them like, no, that this has to be, this has to be a movie for adults. This has to be a serious film. It's like, no, your job is to put actors in impossible sexual positions that human beings cannot recreate in real life.
I think this brings us to the point where we have to choose our own death venture, where we decide of the deaths shown on screen in this movie.
They're not even that good.
Wynter, you were saying that you were looking up deaths that she's responsible for and is really long, and I was counting up, and I came up with 3 direct deaths in this movie.
I think she'll talk about it because there's a Wikipedia page for Catherine Trammell.
Oh, okay, that's just everyone.
And it does have like a list of like either suggested or proven victims.
So in this movie, you can drown in a car after a so-so hand job. You can get strangled to death with an emo belt, and that happens twice. And then you can just be shot to death in a lady's foyer. And that's it.
You got your throat slashed.
She's in a coma, they say.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know that we're ever told I don't know how bleeding out just puts you in a coma.
It doesn't really matter. Because again, like, her character becomes irrelevant.
Right. She's in like 4 scenes and then she has her throat slashed. And then we're told she's lady friends.
Yeah, she's another one. And it's like, Catherine told me about you. And it's like, how did Catherine get to you?
How did you become gal pals? And how is that still a word we're using? So, Wynter, what say you?
Obviously. It'll be really cold. It'll be really sad. Yeah. I'll go out with a whimper, but it's got to be the hand job fingering tames.
Yeah, but supposedly, like, your lungs are paralyzed, too.
Oh.
But if your lungs are paralyzed, he's already, like, halfway out by the time he hits the water.
Right. And I guess being shot, at least it's quick.
I will take that over being manually strangled to death with a belt that's, the lead singer of The Used just took off his skinny jeans.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And I was like, yeah, but they don't have to be like topless, and that's like, I mean, Hugh Dancy's little bird chest, that's all right, but like, I don't want to be all hanging out from everybody. So yeah, I guess I'll take shot in a foyer too.
Yeah, I'm going down in the car. Even though I don't like heights, at least I get to see, the streets of London when they've been cleared out by the police.
And you've got a very large earring.
A very
You've
large,
got such a large
such a big earring.
That'll pay for the funeral itself. That just about does it. But, we have a Patreon where you can find bonus episodes for us. You can find us on the socials, mostly Blue Sky and Wynter. Where can people find out what you be doing?
I'm on Blue Sky now. So Wynter.b, whatever the hell it's supposed to be, bsky.social. I mean, it's a new world, new terrain. We're just trying to navigate it. I'm still on X. I don't want to be, so don't even try to find me over there. We can't find each other over there anyway. I don't go there. I go there to ridicule it and like spit on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I say I'm not coming back. It's the relationship is so abusive.
But it's partially your job. If you didn't have this job, you wouldn't be forced to go to X.
100%.
That's something that still a component of what you put in a contract. I'm going to deliver.
Yes.
So you have to keep a presence.
So I have to keep
there.
a presence. You do not. I'm on Instagram way more. I think Instagram is interesting these days. I guess it's just it's a place to rant. So I'm at Wynter there, and I'm just doing my thing. I'm just hanging out. I'm just being a guest on podcasts. I literally tried to launch a podcast. I made it 4 episodes, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore on my own. And I was tired. I'm just being honest. I can be honest with the both of you. I got tired after 4 episodes. I'm tired. I'm tired. But I like being a guest. It's way more fun.
You had a very long running podcast before that.
And
it's
before
not like
that.
you're new to the
Thank
game.
you. Thank you for making me feel better about it. Because I really felt guilty.
You've been in these podcast streets for a while.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
You're allowed to be, take a break, recenter yourself. You got a lot of shit going on.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Acknowledging where I'm at. Thank you for meeting me there.
I will take you any way I can get
Thank you.
Your presence is so fucking delightful. I love having you.
I love you guys.
I don't want to be. We love you right back. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television pop culture at my Substack. You can watch these things at substack.com. And I am predominantly on Blue Sky under Gina Does.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself, for Gina, and for Wynter. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.